Fall Guys currently has 81 maps in the game, and out of those 81, only 37 of them are available in solo show. And that's if you're in the high bracket or in the high tier. Otherwise, that number drops down to as low as 27 if you're in the low bracket. That's because solos has skill with matchmaking. So only 45% of the maps are in solo show. If you play the core modes, that being solo, squads, and duos for longer than an hour, you'll start to see the same maps pop up over and over again. When you remove half your maps, the game only has a small selection it can pull from, and some maps only appear on certain rounds, and on top of that, some maps just have a low chance of popping up even if you do meet the player requirements for it. Eventually, you're gonna get tired of playing Really Gig round 1 for the 7th time that session. Thanks to Reddit user Bexwit, we can see what maps have been removed from Legacy Season 1 all the way to Season 2 Salad Scramble. It just visualizes and puts into perspective how barren the game feels. Legacy Season 2 and Legacy Season 4 have only 2 maps in the game. The last time Fall Guys had 37 maps in rotation was back in Legacy Season 4 or March 2021. It's just absurd to me that SS2, the season that ended 2 months ago, has 3 maps currently in the game. For perspective, the season came out with 8 maps. Season 2 Salad Scramble got added on September 15th, and one of the new maps that came out was called Space Race. The map got removed on October 7th. That is 22 days into the new season at the time, and it still hasn't been unvaulted. It got vaulted due to the low gravity zone flickering or having flashing lights, but only on the switch port. If it got left unchecked, it could have caused seizures. They did the right thing by pulling the map out of rotation, but after nearly 100 days, you think the bug would have been patched out or fixed by now. Although Skyline Stumble and Hoverboard Heroes are maps are currently in the game and they have low gravity sections. We also recently had the limited time mode known as Hexagravity or Hex 4041, and that has a low gravity section just covering the entire map. It is literally its main gimmick. A map that I really don't see people talk about that's been vaulted is Speed Circuit. The map has been MIA since August 24th or over 140 days. And don't get me started on Thin Ice. The map has been added and removed from the game 3 times in 2022. And in 2022 alone, the map was missing for 242 days. And the last time the map was seen was on September 15th. I'll have to assume the fact that you can now dive slide on ice-coated surfaces is probably why the map is still vaulted. However, the map was long gone before the mechanic was in the live game. And just the more I think about this, the more my head hurts. And some maps have been vaulted due to gameplay issues like the bubbles in Bubble Trouble not spawning, or the hoops and bounce party not giving you a point when you jump through it. Just strange how those maps have been removed from the game for months and we still don't know when they'll be added back in the game. I could go on and on about maps that have been vaulted for months without any sign of them returning, and really that's the underlying issue. We don't really know when these maps are going to come back or if they ever will. A game that once prided itself with the variety of maps it has now contains as much maps as it did back in March 2021. Future Izzy here. While making this video, a recent development happened on January 20th where all the vaulted maps along with disabled variations were in the game for half an hour due to Cloudflare, a server hosting service, being down for a period of time. This was tweeted by leaker FG Muffins and explains it in great detail. I'll link her tweet in the description below. It states that no one really reported any major gameplay or performance issues and the maps are working perfectly fine. One of the main purposes of the vault is to put levels that are untested and aren't functioning properly according to Mediatonic, and the vault was only open for 30 minutes, and I think if left open for longer, we would have started to see some bug reports, but at the same time, thousands of players were playing the game and we really didn't see any major bug reports. Vaulting also allows Mediatonic to artificially limit the content in the game, so whenever they unvault maps, the game will feel fresh again. However, this would work in theory if they rotated the maps in and out of the vault on a consistent basis and not deprive people for months at a time. Times like this just make me doubt the competency of Mediatonic, but at the same time, I do understand how much of an undertaking it is to test nearly 81 maps in hundreds of variations. You only have so many testers and quality assurance people available. The thing with limiting the round pool is that it not only affects the core modes, it also heavily affects the limited time modes. A great example of this is Days of the Races Solos, which only contains race rounds. Since Lost Temple and Fall Mountain, the 2 race finales have been vaulted. The final rounds for the LTM were maps we've always been getting, and that's Hexagon, Crack and Slam, Hexaring, and etc. Since the only 2 race finales have been removed from the game, the thing with limited time modes was if a map was vaulted like Stonewall Survival for example, it had a chance at appearing in LTMs like Survival of the Fittest. However, starting with Season 3 Sunken Secrets, if a map has been vaulted or removed from the game, it won't appear in any modes. Heck, it won't even appear in custom lobbies, which is why you've been getting certain LTMs over and over again, like Let's Get Kraken, because all the SS3 maps are still in the game surprisingly, and all the Hex maps are in the game too, so a lot of LTMs are going to be featuring those maps, like Hexathon, Hexagon Trials, Ring Hexathon, Hexagravity, and etc. I'll be showcasing some leaks on future LTMs that are set to release to drive this point further. If you don't want to get spoiled, please skip to this timestamp right here to avoid spoilers. Fall Guys DB posted the next batch of shows we'll be getting from January 20th till February 6th, and it's basically what we've just played, like Strawberry Guard Standoff, Hexagravity, Let's Get Crackin', and this is just what happens when you vault nearly half your maps. It affects all aspects of your game. Allowing vaulted maps to appear in LTMs could have been a great incentive to play them. You can't even play vaulted rounds in custom lobbies like you used to in SS2. The thing with LTMs is that it limits the round pool even further, and we're just getting the same maps that are currently in the game, so now the amount of LTMs that can appear have shrunken down considerably as a result of vaulting. The thing that flew under most people's radar, including my own, is that Sweet Thieves was scheduled to appear, but it never did. We don't know if the LTM was vaulted or not. If it has been vaulted, the Fall Guys Owl account currently hasn't tweeted saying so. And the thing is, the Fall Guys Owl account at the start of the season actually did say that Sweet Thieves was in rotation. Part of me thinks it's been vaulted since it's not currently scheduled to appear anytime soon. On November 15th, Mediatonic made a tweet stating that rounds will be vaulted while they work on tools to improve the testing capabilities and in order to make the game more stable. Ever since the game went free to play, maps have been getting pulled from the game due to game-breaking bugs, and most of the maps have been pulled because of performance issues, and while the only port that performs really badly is the Switch port, due to it seemingly being rushed to meet the deadline for the game going free to play, and due to a lack of time, and it's just severely undeveloped in general. While some games do run well on the Switch, it usually requires a lot of development time and talented developers who can utilize the Switch hardware to its fullest potential. And as the Switch ages, this gets easier to do as developers learn how to port games over to the Switch, but it's no easy task to do. However, not all maps that perform badly are because of the Switch. Leading Light and Cosmic Highway would drop frames like crazy on all platforms, but they were just downright unplayable on the Switch. Scrolling down on this tweet, you'll see them mentioning how the game will have 40 plus maps, including the new ones. Geez, I would hope the upcoming season would have the new maps. Kind of funny how they had to lump the new season maps to get the 40 plus figure, but I digress. The reason why they're able to advertise 40 plus is because squads contain 43 maps while duos has 42 maps. Maybe it's just me and I might be overreacting, but when I see 40 plus, I usually think of 45 to 47, not 43 and 42. While not incorrect, I just find it a little deceiving that they didn't specify 40 plus was only in squads and duos and not in solo show. I also love how they mentioned this once in a Twitter thread a week before SS3 came out. Why didn't you guys just make a separate tweet mentioning this on the day your brand new season came out? Okay, they technically did tweet out what maps were in the game, but on their Fall Guys Owl Twitter page, which has less than 10 times the followers than the main account does. Now you might be saying, but is it you fast talking over it, Narwhal? Fall Guys Owl is meant for updates and announcements. It just makes sense they would tweet this. You do have a good point there. However, don't you think letting your followers know where maps are currently in the game justify tweeting from an account that has over 1 million followers? Or at least a retweet? They probably didn't want people to know how low of a map count the game actually has and delegated it to the account that has 196k followers. Like they didn't even quote retweet it or nothing. At least then I would let them off the hook slightly, but nope. Back in August 2020, Joe Momo Walsh, who's currently the franchise design lead and one of the main guys behind the creation of Fall Guys, did an interview with Games Radar where they talked about the lore in Fall Guys, and eventually the interviewer, Ben Hansen, asked if there will be a Disney vault of Fall Guys. For the uninitiated, the concept of vaulting originated from Disney way back in the 1930s. I'll read you his response from the article as to not misquote him. Open quote. Walsh points out that they'd be happy to reach a place in development where they have a surplus of levels. Mediatonic plans to remove levels if they don't stand the test of time and keep adding new ones in the future. Close quote. If they don't stand the test of time? Most of the maps that have been vaulted or removed were either due to performance issues or gameplay issues and not because they didn't stand the test of time. SS2 was added 4 months ago and 62% of the season is just gone. However, with this statement in mind, I wonder if some maps have been vaulted with no reason given is because Mediatonic considers them to be outdated. I personally don't see what maps meet this criteria, but if you do, comment below and let me know. In my opinion, a finale should never get vaulted unless there's a game-breaking bug or something to that effect. Otherwise, it should always be in the game since there aren't a lot of them. If vaulting is here to stay for the foreseeable future, here's some things to make it work. One of the things they can start doing is rotating maps in and out of the vault on a bi-weekly basis. Every 2 weeks will allow everyone enough time to play the maps, and at this point, I would be okay if it was a once a month thing. This solves the problem of not seeing certain maps for long stretches of time, and if done correctly, it could get players hyped to see their favorite maps get released from the vault, all the while creating urgency because players know some of the maps won't be around for long. If they announce what maps are getting rotated in and out of the vault on social media, I could see this really benefiting the game. Another thing you could do is bring vaulted maps into LTMs. This would generate great amount of hype for LTMs because we can't play vaulted maps in the core modes or in customs, and if used sparingly, it could be a great way to get people playing the game for longer. Thank you to our Max Tour members for your generous support, and make sure to subscribe for more videos like this one.